North Korea, a nation shrouded in secrecy, intrigue, and controversy, it's one of the most isolated places on Earth, yet it's a country everyone seems to have an opinion about. But how much do we know? Most of our exposure to North Korea comes from grainy news footage of missile launches and Dennis Rodman looking increasingly uncomfortable next to Kim Jong-un. Today, we're peeling back the layers of propaganda and misinformation to uncover the bizarre, the surprising, and the downright chilling truths about life inside the Hermit Kingdom. Buckle up, because even attempting to talk about this place is walking a diplomatic tightrope, and it's going to be a wild ride. Alright, let's start with the basics. North Korea, officially the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, was founded in 1948. The country was established after the Korean War, splitting the peninsula in two, with the Kim family seizing control and never letting go. Kim Il-sung, the country's founder, is still revered like a god, despite having died in 1994. His son and grandson, Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong-un, continued his legacy, making this a hereditary dictatorship. Imagine if, in the US, the presidency was only open to descendants of George Washington. Now, what makes North Korea so mysterious? Imagine a country where the internet, as you and I know it, basically doesn't exist for ordinary citizens. Forget scrolling through TikTok or arguing with strangers on Twitter, most North Koreans have never even sent an email. Their only source of information is the heavily controlled state media, which pumps out a constant stream of propaganda praising the Kim regime and demonizing the West. It's like living in a real-life Truman Show, except instead of cheery neighbors and product placements, you have portraits of the dear leaders watching your every move. Every household is required to display these portraits prominently. There are even stories of people being punished for their portraits gathering dust. And don't even think about watching a bit of South Korean TV, that's a big no-no. We're talking serious consequences, folks. Information still trickles out through defectors who risk their lives to escape, giving us glimpses into a world most can barely imagine. They tell stories of chronic food shortages, forced labor camps, and public executions. North Korea only generates enough electricity to light up its capital, Pyongyang. Outside the city, it's a blackout zone, both literally and figuratively. It's a stark reminder of the human cost of the Kim regime's obsession with power. Life in North Korea is all about loyalty to the Kim dynasty. Imagine being taught from birth that your leader is a near-divine figure, capable of controlling the weather and performing other supernatural feats. This is the reality for millions of North Koreans who grow up with portraits of the Kims staring down at them from classroom walls, their every move scrutinized by a vast network of informants. The Inminban, North Korea's neighborhood watch system, monitors every aspect of their neighbors' lives. Daily life in North Korea is regimented to an almost unimaginable degree. Food rations are distributed by the state, and the government decides where you live, where you work, and even what you wear. Individuality? Not a thing here. Despite the risks, a growing underground market economy known as the Jangmadang has begun to challenge the state's grip on everyday life. People are secretly trading goods, watching smuggled South Korean dramas, and even whispering their doubts about the regime. It's a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak landscape. But let's be clear, this isn't some heartwarming tale of entrepreneurial spirit triumphing over adversity. The Jangmadang exists because people are desperate, and while it might be chipping away at the edges of the regime's control, the risks for those caught participating are still incredibly high. Trust becomes a luxury few can afford when your own family members could be informants. Children are encouraged to report any criticism of the regime, even from their own parents. Despite the hardships, the human spirit is remarkably resilient. But let's not romanticize the situation. The reality is that life for most North Koreans is a daily struggle against poverty, surveillance, and fear. Now let's talk about propaganda. From the moment North Koreans wake up to the moment they go to sleep, they are bombarded with messages designed to glorify the Kim dynasty and instill a deep sense of fear and paranoia about the outside world. Think massive military parades with goose-stepping soldiers and enough weaponry to make even Dr. Strangelove nervous. These aren't just displays of military might, they're carefully choreographed spectacles designed to project an image of strength and unity. Then there's the state-run media. Imagine a news channel where every story is about how amazing the leader is, how evil America is, and how lucky North Koreans are to live in the best country on earth. It's a masterclass in manipulation, a constant drip feed of misinformation designed to create a warped reality. The Korean War, which ended in a stalemate in 1953, still casts a long shadow over the peninsula. The country is technically still at war with American troops stationed just across the border in South Korea. This constant state of tension is expertly exploited by the regime to justify its militarization and its iron grip on power. The regime also uses a complex system of rewards and punishments to maintain control. Those deemed loyal to the party are given preferential treatment, access to better housing, and even the opportunity to travel abroad. Meanwhile, those who question the regime, even in private, face dire consequences. This culture of fear is so deeply ingrained that it becomes self-perpetuating. Smuggled USB drives filled with South Korean movies and TV shows are making their way across the border, offering glimpses of a different way of life. Now, before you think North Korea is just one giant depressing black hole of oppression, it's important to remember that it is also a country of surprising beauty and complexity. Yes, the regime is repressive, the propaganda is relentless, and the human rights situation is dire. But beneath the surface, there's another North Korea, one that rarely makes it into the headlines. One of the most striking things about North Korea is its natural beauty. The country is home to stunning mountain ranges, pristine forests, and picturesque coastlines. It's a side of North Korea that the regime is keen to promote, showcasing it in carefully curated tourist itineraries. And while these tours offer a highly sanitized view of the country, they do provide a glimpse of a North Korea that exists beyond the military parades and propaganda posters. Then there are the mass games, a synchronized spectacle of music, dance, and gymnastics on a scale that boggles the mind. Pyongyang itself is full of architectural curiosities, a strange mix of Soviet-era brutalism and futuristic designs. Wide, empty boulevards lined with pastel-colored buildings give the city an eerie, almost post-apocalyptic feel. Despite the hardships they face, North Koreans are known for their warmth, hospitality, and resilience. It's a reminder that even in the most tightly controlled societies, the human spirit finds a way to shine through. So, where does North Korea go from here? That's the million-dollar question. The country is at a crossroads, facing mounting internal and external pressures that threaten to upend the delicate status quo. The Kim regime, despite its outward displays of strength, is facing a growing number of challenges. The economy, crippled by sanctions and mismanagement, is struggling to provide for its people. The black market, once a minor annoyance, is now an essential part of the economy, undermining the state's control. And the internet, that pesky little thing, is becoming increasingly difficult to censor, allowing glimpses of the outside world to seep through the cracks. Meanwhile, the international community is grappling with how to deal with a nuclear-armed state that seems determined to isolate itself from the rest of the world. Sanctions, while intended to pressure the regime into changing its ways, have had a devastating impact on ordinary North Koreans. Engagement, on the other hand, risks legitimizing a regime with a horrific human rights record. The future of North Korea is inextricably linked to the future of the Korean peninsula. Reunification, while a distant prospect, remains a powerful aspiration for many, both in the North and the South. But the path to reunification is fraught with obstacles, not least of which is the vast economic and social disparities between the two Koreas. The situation in North Korea is a stark reminder that the world is not a simple place, and there are no easy answers. But one thing is clear, the status quo is unsustainable. Something has to give. In the end, North Korea is more than just a political problem to be solved. It's a country of 25 million people, each with their own hopes, dreams, and aspirations. So, there you have it. A glimpse behind the curtain of the world's most secretive state. We've explored the propaganda, the paranoia, and yes, even the surprising moments of beauty and resilience that make North Korea such a fascinating and endlessly frustrating enigma. If you found this video even remotely eye-opening, do us a favor and hit that like button harder than Dennis Rodman parties in Pyongyang. Share it with your friends, your family, your conspiracy theorist uncle who still thinks Elvis is alive and well and hiding out in Wonsan. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the world's most fascinating and often deeply weird stories. Because let's be honest, the world is a strange and wonderful place, and sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and for God's sake, if you ever find yourself in Pyongyang, maybe just avoid talking about the haircuts.